Hey everyone, Carmen here, back at the National Sexual Assault Conference Exhibition Hall, and this time with the founder and director of Defend Yourself, Lauren Taylor. So great to have you here.
Hey, Carmen.
And we met at last year's Sexual Assault Conference, right?
That's true.
Yes, and then you wrote about empowerment, self-defense, and the feminist case for self-defense in these times. And I loved it because I do feel like, self-defense is sort of this complex thing to navigate, right? Like how do we empower ourselves without also making it seem like we're putting responsibility on ourselves, right? And so tell me a little bit more about how empowerment, self-defense maybe like flip some of those old scripts on their head.
Oh, wow, that's deep. Okay. So, we can hold simultaneously the knowledge that the person who does the harassment or abuse or assault holds sole responsibility for that. And at the same time, the reality that those of us who are targeted, who are primarily women and LGBTQ and non-binary people, have some power to stand up for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with folks who say, men are the majority, almost all of the perpetrators, and they hold the responsibility for ending that expression of oppression. I totally agree with them. And how many generations are we thinking that's going to take? I myself personally don't want to sit on my hands while I wait. I want me and anybody else who is likely to be targeted for sexual violence to have ways to protect ourselves. And that's a normal animalistic thing. In fact, ours is the only species that has our instinct to protect ourselves socialized out of us. So in some ways, what I see is that what we do as empowerment self-defense teachers is repairing the harm that's done to us by culture and by socialization that tells us, don't make a scene, don't hurt anybody's feelings, all of that kind of stuff. Don't take up space, all of those things that inhibit our ability to stand up for ourselves, whether it's verbally or physically.
Yeah, oh my God, and I love that. And what have been what was the impact on you personally of sort of learning self-defense and becoming a self-defense instructor?
So I had been working in the movement to end gender-based violence for a while, and I took a self-defense class in the 80s. I was going to travel by myself, and a friend of mine had taken the class and suggested it, so I was like, cool, that sounds like a good idea. I grew up in DC, and I was always scared that I was going to be attacked. And I think street harassment, growing up in a big city, reinforces that all the time. It reinforces the fear of rape. And so I had experienced that my whole life. And I always believed that if someone tried to hurt me, they would by definition be bigger and stronger than me, and therefore by definition I wouldn't be able to do anything. And what I found out in that class was that I was wrong, and that there were things I could do. I could stop someone bigger and stronger than me, and that I could stand up for myself. And just that piece of knowledge, especially I think because it was embodied, because it was in my body that I knew, not just in my brain. Someone didn't say, hey, Carmen, actually you could stop a rape possibly, you know?
You're strong.
Right, yeah. But in fact that I had the feeling in my body was life-changing and, affected my life, not just in ways that had to do with sexual violence, but just in terms of being myself and asking for what I wanted and all of that. And so I ended up, kind of sticking with it and becoming a teacher because I was so affected by that transformation in my life. And now I get to witness that transformation in our students' lives.
Yeah, and I guess in a lot of the conversations I've been having while I'm here, I've been trying to connect all these different dots, right? Like how does accountability turn into prevention? How does, X turn into Y? And how does it all turn into ending sexual violence once and for all, forever? And I'm thinking now that we're having this conversation about the ways in which, how do you think the students in your classes and the people you work with as fellow instructors, like how has that culture changed, that shift of now I'm strong enough maybe to ask for what I want or to set boundaries because I know that I, have this sort of self-power. How do you think that also maybe slowly filters out and starts a culture shift? Because I mean, when we talk about women claiming their power, right, we talk about subverting that norm.
Right. So we are subverting the norm. Women can stand up for themselves. Women can be fierce. Women can have a voice. Women can ask for what they want. Women can take care of ourselves. And so, yes, it happens on the individual change level, but then those people go out and do it in all aspects of their lives, and they raise children who can do that, and children who understand consent and understand respect. And we definitely, those of us who are empowerment self-defense teachers, are not looking at individual change solely, but really ending as one strategy for ending gender-based violence. The way I frame it is that in any gender violence situation or framework, there are three roles. Okay, one is the role of the aggressor. And there are lots of wonderful men's groups like Men Can Stop Rape who are doing work around changing that role. And then there's the role of the bystander or the witness, which sometimes can be an individual, but sometimes can be like society, you know, or your group of friends who hears you talk badly about a group of people and doesn't ever say anything. And that's where we need bystander intervention. And then the third person is the person who's being targeted. And so if we look at it on a more macro level, and that the people who are being targeted are kind of rising up and saying, we're not taking this anymore. And when we do that, we're showing all the other people, not just the bystanders, not just the aggressors, but we're showing that everybody who is a target of gender-based violence, that this is a thing you can do, and you have permission, and that you might be successful. That changes culture.
Yeah.
On the bigger level.
Totally. And when we talk about, you know, this breakthrough and the sea change of Me Too and what it's represented for a lot of folks, how did the Me Too explosion sort of filter into your own work? What did you see? Absolutely.
So those of us who do empowerment self-defense around the country and around the world, mostly what we've seen is way more students, huge demand for classes. I think both the combination of people speaking up, you know, Tarana Burke starting it, and more and more women telling women and LGBTQ and non-binary people telling their stories, whether it be in person or on social media. People feeling a lot more supported to say a thing, even though there's still horrible repercussions often for talking about what's happened to you. And so more and more people speaking up, more and more people saying, hey, yeah, I want to claim my power. Let me find a class. Or let me bring this to my workplace, or let me bring this to my college, or let me bring this to my you know, homeless women's shelter, or whatever. And so that's one side of it. That's the primary side, is that way more people are looking for training and want to get out of the box we've been put in. And the other piece of it is way more people wanting to know what to do when someone shares what's happened to them. Because, you know, historically, we haven't all gotten the best support when we say, you know, this terrible thing happened to me.
Yeah.
And now that more and more people are saying it, more people are realizing, hey, someone might say that to me and I need to know how to say the right answer. And that's something else that we can help with is, you know, our classes are all trauma informed, we're survivor centered. How is it best to respond to a survivor when they disclose, so that you are helping them have the best healing you can.
Yeah, totally. And can you walk me through a little bit of what an empowerment self-defense class might be like, from when I walk in to when I leave ready to take on the man?
So we have classes, I would say, as short as an hour to as long as like 32 hours over 16 weeks. Some colleges have them year round. So, you're going to see different things in different lengths of classes, but no matter what length you're doing, you're going to see first some time spent on understanding where our risks really lie, that it's not what the movies and our parents told us about stranger danger. It's not what television tells us about. It's not, it's not all about attacks, but in fact, as probably most Ms. readers know, I hope, 90% of all sexual violence is committed by someone that we know.
Yeah.
And obviously 100% of all intimate partner violence is by somebody that we know. So, and even if you do experience a violation, some kind of boundary crossing from someone you don't know, it usually starts with talking. So the first thing we do is that we spend time on what's the reality? How can we spend less time being afraid of walking alone at night, and less time being afraid of being in a parking lot, and less time afraid of who might jump out of the bushes, and look at how people in our lives are treating us, okay? That's very sad because they may be people we care about deeply, but that's where we really need to be paying attention. So we spend a little bit of time on just getting real about that stuff. And then after that, we spend about half the time on verbal skills, assertiveness, boundary setting, asking for what you want, saying when something is not comfortable for you, setting limits with people, and about the other half of the time on physical techniques for a last resort if you have to hit someone.
Yeah, and so, and it kind of sounds like in a way, this empowerment self-defense model almost pushed self-defense beyond the breakthrough, right? Like it
Absolutely.
was, it was like you can defend yourself and you can recognize that there are these structural problems and that defending yourself is almost a daily practice, right?
Oh,
asserting
absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely. When people find out what I do, they always say one of two things. One is, I don't want to meet you in a dark alley. And I tell them that as part of my self-defense, I don't generally go in dark alleys. But the other thing the main thing that they say is, have you ever had to use it? And my answer is every day. Every day I cut off a conversation that I feel like is going in a bad direction, or I ask for some of what I want, or I have a conversation with a friend about how our friendship is going, or I, decide to turn that way instead of that way. Really, if you ask any empowerment self-defense teacher, and most of our students, they'll say they use it every day. Have I ever had to fight anybody? No. And that's good, right? Yeah. That's what we hope for. Right? So I don't know if one of the things you're asking me is to show you a little bit of what we might do.
Yeah.
You want me to do that?
Sure.
Okay, so first thing we would start with in terms of verbal techniques is just making sure that you can give a consistent message with your voice, your body, and your face. Now, a lot of us have been trained to be passive or not making a lot of noise. So, for example, we might look down a lot when we talk. And I'm just giving that as an example, partly because that's what I found out when I started taking self-defense, is that I looked down. And it took me several years of practice to get my eyes up. So if I'm telling you something's making me uncomfortable, Carmen, I wish you would stop doing that. I'm not okay with it.
Oh my God, just looking me dead in the eye.
Right, so you see how I use my voice, my body, and my face to do that?
Yeah.
But if instead I went like this, Carmen, I'm really not okay with that. Do you think you could stop doing it? Same tone of voice, same body language, but I was looking down and away. So we work on getting voice, body, and face in alignment so you can give a consistent message, and then we practice with some kinds of messages that you might give in your life. So how about if I call it the echo game. How about if we play the echo game? Okay, so I'm going to say some things, and I just want you to repeat me back. Now, depending on how intense the thing is, like if it might be like, please don't touch my hair, okay? I might be like that. But if it's like, get off me, you're gonna have your body language more intense and your hand's gonna be up. So I'm gonna ask you to engage your body depending on how high the threat is and what I'm saying, okay? So
I'm excited and scared.
Okay, that's okay. So take a deep breath, feel your body in the chair, okay? And I'm just gonna say things and I want you to repeat me. Please don't talk to me that way.
Okay. Please don't talk to me that way.
Please take a step back.
Please take a step back.
You need to step back.
You need to step back.
Take your hand off me.
Take your hand off me.
That's not okay.
That's not okay.
Get off.
Get off.
Stop.
Stop.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
Wasn't she
So
great?
fun.
Serious face, serious tone of voice. Yeah, so, some of those things might come easy to some people depending on how they were raised, and some of them, it's really hard. How was that for you?
I mean, it was hard for me to stop smiling.
Right.
Right? Because also, I mean, that's part of, like, I'm always like, smile the whole time.
Right.
Smile through all the things.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and I totally, a few years ago, someone pointed out to me that they were like, you don't really make a lot of eye contact when you talk. And I realized how scary it is because it makes you seem firm, serious. Like to look someone in the eye is something that women are not supposed to do because we're not supposed to be serious or firm.
And we're supposed to smile all the time because how many times have you been told, where's my smile?
Yeah.
Or you'd look prettier if you smile. Smiling is a wonderful thing. It smooths social interactions. It's a good thing. And we want to be able to control that smile. So a lot of us, when we're in a nervous situation, we do smile. We don't have any real choice. So one thing we work on in classes is just like, can I have a serious face when I want one or when I need one?
Yes. Oh my God. I do feel I'm like, I'm going to go out and yell at a bunch of people. There was a man recently who told me to smile, like just while I was picking up some food. And I was like, I don't think I need to do that.
That was beautiful. And look at the disgusted look on your face while you said it. I'm really impressed.
Well, and so see, now I'm intrigued because I feel like there's, sometimes there's this reaction, right? Like we talked about to self-defense, this idea of like, oh, we don't do that anymore because, we're all about culture change, not blah, blah, blah. But it's almost like, what do you think, having done this work and having taught these programs, what are the things that you do in your classes that you think might be missing from the work we do on a movement scale?
Oh my gosh. Well, number one is the embodied, the body-centered practice. Okay, so many of us walk around with unresolved trauma, right? Talk therapy or yoga. Well, talk therapy is a wonderful thing, helps a lot of people, me included. And there's a piece of it that lives in your body that really can't be gotten out through talk therapy. And this is something I would say in the last 10 to 15 years, people have come to understand more and more. And so now there are things like trauma-centered yoga, right? I feel like empowerment self-defense, even more so because we're dealing with the nexus of the harm, which is humanity's relationship with humanity and the fact that humanity has betrayed you. Okay, so yoga is wonderful, and I want people to be doing embodied boundary setting and self-defense practice so that they can reclaim their power in their body and move some of the trauma out of themselves. That's just one example.
Yeah, well, and that gets me thinking too about this. I feel like there's been a rise lately in sort of these very physical and aggressive forms of exercise that are now being marketed to women, right? Like now it's like people want to take boxing and they want to, and I know, sometimes you feel a lot of anxiety or stress in your body, and running or, going to a cycling class or something might be a great way to let off let that energy out and sort of let that moment pass. So yeah, I can understand that too. And then, can
I just interrupt?
Yeah.
So take that cycling class or that yoga or running, and then add to it that you get to hit a pad and you'll know, okay, how much more deep that's going to get into whatever's happened to you, whether that's real serious sexual assault, child sexual abuse, whatever, or whether it's your daily feelings about street harassment. It goes to a deeper level. I don't want to dismiss the running and the cycling and all that, because let me tell you, that saved my life. And that empowerment self-defense that is dealing with where the harm happened. is another level.
And have you, I mean, I assume you have, but I assume there are also, you know, we're sort of talking about self-defense as this prevention mechanism, but I assume that there are also a lot of survivors who take your classes.
Absolutely. So we actually talk about self-defense as prevention, intervention, and healing, because it can prevent stuff, and we've got some really great research on that now, including, I don't know if you're familiar with it, Charlene Sen's research out of a college in Canada that shows not only a 43% drop in sexual assaults after a 12-hour empowerment self-defense class over the following year, but to me, more importantly and mind-blowingly, a 63% drop in attempted sexual assault, which means that women, who her class was women are stopping things before they know they are things. Because it's a 63% drop in attempted sexual assault. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's the prevention piece. Then there's the intervention piece. Somebody's trying to do something to me. Course, you know, workplace sexual harassment, trafficking, no matter, street harassment, family violence, no matter what it is. And I am able to interrupt it. I'm able to say, this is not working for me and you need to stop, or this is not working for me and I'm going to leave, or I'm going to break up with you, or I'm going to report you to HR or whatever. And then there's the healing piece, which is the kind of the piece we were just talking about when we're talking about moving it through your body and all of that kind of stuff. And there is more and more research also on how anything that's an embodied practice like yoga will help with trauma recovery, and especially empowerment self-defense, because it is where the harm happened in our bodily autonomy.
Yeah. Well, and aside from, you know, a world where the risk of sexual assault is eradicated, what are sort of you talked about self-defense maybe giving back this thing, right, that typically women are robbed of when they're socialized as women and girls, of, you know, you don't get to define your needs, you don't get to stand up for yourself, and you don't get to take up any space. What are the things culturally that need to be dismantled to get us beyond that breakthrough where maybe, you know, empowerment, self-defense is no longer a survival mechanism because all of these values are just present?
Yes, I'm there for it. Well, I actually may not live that long, but you might. I'm totally would love for that to happen. You know, I think we need all the strategies. We need the advocates. We need the healthy masculinity. We need the legislation. We need the everything. And we're not going to stop needing the self-defense until the gender-based violence is ended.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I guess just as a closing question, how do folks get to take a class?
So you can reach my organization. We're based in Washington, D.C. at defendyourself.org. We also have an alliance of people who teach the kind of self-defense we've been talking about the whole time, and that's the Empowerment Self-Defense Alliance. Let me just say that again because it's a mouthful. The Empowerment Self-Defense Alliance, and you can find us on the web at empowermentsd for self-defense.org. That's empowermentsd.org, and on that site you will find a list of empowerment self-defense teachers around the U.S. and around the world.
So next time, instead of Netflix and chill, I'm definitely doing empowerment, self-defense, and chill. I am going to sign up for a class so quickly.
You live in LA, right?
Yes.
So I'll hook you up with the people who teach there.
Ooh, okay. I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For all
Good
you do.
questions.
Oh, yay. And for being here and for sharing with us. And thank you to everyone watching for watching as I screamed through this mic. I really enjoyed it. I feel a cathartic release.
Great. Imagine what it would be like if you took a whole class. That was only like 3 minutes.
I'm so excited.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Bye.